ready to put a zipper in our upper pocket for our name tag and essentials bag. This is the same procedure I do for many of my patterns when I want to put in a zipper in a pocket that has the upper edge of the zipper bound. So like for accessories, you'd use the same thing. The little wallet in the Flower Power pattern, all of those are exactly the same thing. I decided that I wanted to use a piece of textured fabric for my pocket on this one. So I used Texture Magic to texturize a piece of fabric, allowing it to be big enough so that once I trimmed it, I had a piece big enough for my pocket. So I've got that ready to go. I've got a layer of Soft and Stable in between, and then I've got some lining fabric on the back. And as you can see, I just stitched around the outside edges of those to hold them together. Now I'm ready to put my zipper on. And I went through my zipper stash and found a purple zipper that matches perfectly. As you can see, it's way longer than what I need, but that doesn't bother me. I actually prefer to use a zipper that's longer because I can avoid the stops at each end and just use the middle part of the zipper. So I'm going to take my zipper and position it face down on the top edge of my pocket. I'm going to put a zipper foot on my machine and move my needle position to the left, and then I'm going to take my zipper and let it extend on either end enough so that my zipper is not in the way. If you have a shorter zipper, you can go that close, but I've got plenty of room on this zipper, so I'm going further out. And I'm going to match my zipper to the edge of my pocket. And actually, I usually overlap it just a tad so that I don't see any pocket underneath there. This is another situation where I like having my stiletto to help me hold things in place. And I'm just going to stitch down the edge of this zipper so that I'm stitching 1/4 of an inch from the edge. There's a line usually on your zipper that kind of gives you a mark to follow. So I've stitched all the way down my piece. Now I'm going to turn this to the inside, and I'm going to flatten my zipper down, and I'm going to stitch right along the edge of my zipper tape. Start a little bit off my zipper. Flatten it down. Again, my stiletto is helpful for holding that in place. I'm going to stitch right along that edge. What this does is it encloses that raw edge inside, it finishes off my zipper on the back, and on the front side it's going to give me a nice 1/4 inch top stitch right along my edge. Just by following that edge of that zipper foot, I know I'm going to have a nice straight stitch on the other side. So let's clip those threads. I'll show you. See how nice that looks on the front? I've got it nice and stitching all the way even across there. Now, if I was putting this into another project, I could sew my other part of my project onto there, but in this instance, I'm just going to put a binding on it. So I've cut my piece of binding, and I'm going to fold this in half. Now, I do not like to press my binding before I start. I like to just pin it so that that folded edge doesn't have a crease in it. I find that when I bring it over to the other side, I get a much smoother edge if I haven't pressed a crease in there, because sometimes one layer moves faster than the other, and if you bring it to the front with a crease, you may have a fold in it. Okay, so I'll turn my pocket over to the back because I want to have my prettiest stitching on the front. I'm going to line this up so that my binding matches my edges of the pocket. Obviously, I'm not going to bind to the edge of my zipper away from the edge of the pocket because that's not going to do me any good. So I line it up so it matches my pocket. I don't bother to pin it on this small of a piece. I just match my raw edges, and I'm going to sew my binding to the zipper exactly the way I sewed the binding to my pocket, or the zipper to my pocket. Okay, I can bring my binding around, finish off that edge of the zipper, which also encloses all my raw edge of my seam. And when I put this on my bag, it's going to look really pretty. It's not like I have just a raw edge of zipper. When I bring this down, I want it to be about the same distance from the zipper teeth as my other one was. So it's about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit more than 1/8 of an inch, and I'm just going to sew right along the edge of my binding. Again, my stiletto helps me. I love this particular stiletto. It's got a nice, easy, lightweight handle to hold. There is knurling along the edge of the metal here, which helps it grab my fabric, and it just makes it really easy to put my pieces in place. You can see I can use that to just kind of grab and hold the binding where I want it to be. And again, I'm stitching right along the edge of that fold, probably 1/8 of an inch in from the edge. So I've got my zipper installed in my pocket. I've got the upper edge bound. I'm going to leave this excess zipper tape on here for now, and when I put it in my bag and get it positioned in place and ready to sew down, at that point I'll cut the excess tape off. That's how easy it is to install a zipper.